Plaintiff Samantha Cooper says she had her son when she was 16 years old, and despite the fact that it was the hardest thing she's ever done in her life, it was totally worth it. Samantha claims she was hired to babysit for the defendants' children, but by doing so, her parenting skills were called into question. She's suing for unpaid wages. Defendants Justin Isom and his wife Elizabeth Hall insist they paid Samantha in full for her services, and oftentimes they paid her in advance. They're countersuing Samantha for lost wages, property damage, and harassment.
Start with you.
I got pregnant when I was 16 years old, and it was the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. You know, my whole family deserted me. The only people who stuck around were my parents and my boyfriend's parents. But when my son was born...
Yeah, it does sound like family.
But when my son was born...
The most important people you need is your parents. Go ahead.
When my son was born and I saw him for the first time, I knew that everything I had to go through was worth it. Yeah. And I knew that I was going to provide for him and give him the best life that I could give him.
Good.
And I never knew that...
What about the dad?
The dad is around. He lives with me and he supports us the best that he can. And I never knew that taking a babysitting job from them would bring into question my mothering skills, my parenting skills.
Yes, ma'am.
This all started when I met Elizabeth through a portrait studio in January of 2010. She took pictures of my son. After a couple months of knowing her, she approached me about babysitting her 3 children. I met with her children and Justin.
How old
11,
are the children?
A girl, 11, 5, and 3.
Okay.
We agreed it would be anywhere from like 3 to 5 days a week, and that it would be $200 a week. The first day I babysat for them was May 3rd, 2010. Everything was going good. You know, they paid me, and you know, the kids were good, but as time went on, the kids started to misbehave. They wouldn't listen to me. They would constantly be telling me that, you know, I wasn't the boss, that they didn't have to listen to me. And on top of that, they had stopped paying me.
When is the last time you were paid?
July 3rd.
All right, let me see your payments. So they owe you from, when did you stop babysitting?
On July 1st.
July 1st, and that's the last time they paid you?
The last time they paid me was the 3rd.
Right. And this doesn't give me a detail of what they missed. All right, take a look and perhaps you can...
The information is actually incorrect, Your Honor.
All right, well, she hasn't given me the information yet. So how do you know whether it's correct or not? So you're telling on yourself there. You haven't allowed her to tell me what weeks you all failed to pay. Have you determined yet?
Can I have my mom come up and help me?
All right, come right up. State your name.
Brenda Cooper.
Uh-huh.
I have a list of the weeks that I was not paid and the weeks that I was paid.
Tell me and then hand them to me.
I was not paid May 17th through the 21st, May 31st through June 4th, June 7th through June 11th, June 20th through June 22nd, and July 1st through July 3rd.
Let me have them, please.
Was paid a partial payment.
When you were paid, how did they pay you? Cash?
Cash.
All right. Let me give you the dates she claims you failed to pay. Put a check by the ones you think you did pay. If you paid all of them, then just check all of them.
Paid all right.
This is very simple.
Check them all.
All right. June 14th through June 18th, you put paid. Give it back to her, and you'll see the circle that says paid, but you've put it on a list for unpaid.
Where we're making the mistake.
Your Honor, also the amount that they're claiming that we agreed to pay them is also incorrect.
Okay, how much was the agreement to pay?
$20 per day. And she was only watching the children for 3 days per week.
Okay, that's a pretty good discount.
What was
$20
and it wasn't
per
all
day.
3 children, it was only the 2 younger ones. The oldest
How
was
many
in school.
hours for $20 a day,
from
2 children?
Yeah.
9 o'clock to 7. Sometimes they were long days.
3 days a week,
Yes.
$20 a day.
Yes.
Good enough.
And that's wrong.
When I started babysitting, it was 5 days a week. And it would change from anywhere from 5 to 3 days a week.
How much per day?
They just said per week. They said $200 per week. That's what they told me. They
If
said
it was 1 day, you still would be paid $200?
No, it was.
You just told me you would be paid $200 for any number of days you worked for 1 week.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what they told me.
Well, I just asked you and you said no.
Sorry. Your Honor.
Now, let's go over this again. You've got weeks on here that they did pay you. All right.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
How did you pay her? In cash?
Yes, Your Honor. I get paid every other Friday. When I would come home, I would just give her $200 out of my
How
hand.
do I know whether they did or not, man? Just your word against theirs?
And
And you've been very confusing in your testimony.
Okay, I
You
know,
say you
Judge,
all- yes,
I have
ma'am.
a question. I have a thing. When Liz went up and asked my daughter to babysit, and we went and met them, they said $150 a week for 5 days a week at 8 hours. It was what it started out to be. So she calculated that, and she's like, wait a minute, that's only like $2 an hour. And she's like, no, I need more than that. So I called Liz myself and said, we need to have it at least $200 a week. And she said, oh yeah, that's not a problem.
That's wrong, Your Honor.
And then, no, that's not wrong. And then for 2 weeks, they gave us $400.
You say you paid all of these weeks, right?
yes, Your Honor.
All right. How much did you pay from May 24th to May 28th?
I just paid them $200 every other week when I got my paycheck.
Okay.
Irregardless
so
of
hold
whatever.
on, sir. And you paid them 2 weeks at a time? When was the next time after June 4th you would have paid?
It was the payday right before we went on our vacation, which was basically the last day she ever babysat for us. And then they're claiming we made a payment to them on July 1st, and we didn't. The last time they got any money from us was before we left on our
No
vacation.
one has anything other than their own testimony, in which the plaintiff's testimony seems inconclusive and just.
And July
not
3rd,
proving the case.
Liz gave me $50.
My last day was July 3rd.
I understand, ma'am.
I did give her $50 on
Because
the
you
3rd.
said you would
just
you would
for
give
that
it to
day
us.
because they did stay
Why
instead
did
of
you give
leaving
it-
that morning.
Why did you give her $50
Yeah.
for that day?
Because I felt bad.
Your counterclaim is for $2,220. How much of that in wages?
Your Honor, $1,320
Okay,
of that.
and what dates were those wages?
July 4th,
owed
July
for?
5th, and July 6th I missed. All three of those days would have been a
But she
time and a
wasn't
half.
working for you anymore.
That's
That's
the problem.
That's the problem.
No, it's
We-
not a problem. You gave her $50 as a severance pay. So how was it a problem? You just told me. Here, take $50 because we feel bad.
Because, Your Honor, it wasn't Samantha that stayed to watch. It was her mom that
No.
volunteered.
We're not asking. That's not the issue. The issue is why do you give a person $50 on their last day because you feel bad? But then, thereafter, when she didn't babysit, you want to sue her.
no, I didn't feel bad for her. I felt
That's
bad
what
because
you
I
told
wasn't going
me.
to get to work.
Because what?
I paid her the $50 so that she would stay and watch the kids because otherwise I wouldn't be able to make it to work that day.
That's not what you told me a minute ago. You said you felt bad. Your testimony is inconsistent and you've perjured yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff, $2,050. Yours is dismissed. Have a good day.
All I wanted was them to pay my daughter for babysitting.
I have nothing to say to them.
I think you should have watched our children instead of spending all your time watching porn on my computer.
Oh, whatever.
That's what I think.
I was doing schoolwork. That's why I got a 3.93 GPA and achieved honors.
That's why your email address was in all those porn sites we brought up.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have got my email address because I went into Hotmail on your computer.
Dell pulled the registry
Your
up.
homework, all right.
She
Yeah,
tried to
whatever,
delete all
you
the
have
history in our
proof.
computer, and our
You got
computer
proof.
crashed with
You
a
don't got
virus.
proof.
When it was fixed from Dell, all that stuff came
proof.
up out of the registry. She wasn't watching our kids. They were fending for themselves while she was setting up a fling behind her boyfriend's back.
Oh, whatever.